Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, I'm no longer a member of the Wargaming Community Contributor Program. And yet, I do still hang out on the Wargaming Discord channel and chat quite regularly with the members of the Wargaming EU community team. And so it didn't come as a great surprise the other day when Mr. Conway from Wargaming EU contacted me and said, Jingles, there's a replay you might be interested in taking a look at. And this is it. I'll have a stab at pronouncing his name, but I'm not particularly fluent in Leet speak. I think it's Skillful 2. He's from Lithuania, apparently. He streams World of Tanks on Twitch. He puts World of Tanks videos up on YouTube. I'd never actually heard of him, which is kind of embarrassing, because he has a certain claim to fame. He apparently has more marks of mastery on his tanks than anybody else in the world. He has 330 tanks with 3 marks of mastery on the barrels. This is basically what he does now in World of Tanks, because he's pretty much done everything else. He just goes around acing, and not just getting ace tanker on every tank in his garage, getting 3 marks of mastery on every tank in his garage. And in this game, he's attempting to do it in his VK7201K. You don't see this tank very often. It's, that's going to leave a mark. As you can tell, it has a 150mm gun. The same as the gun on the E100, except on the VK here, it does have a slower reload. And you can also tell just by looking at it that it's a much smaller tank than the E100 or the Mouse. It still weighs over 120 tons, and that's mostly down to the armour, because it has a metric arse ton of it. But it also has a 1200 horsepower engine, so it's actually the most mobile of any of the German Tier 10 heavy tanks. Like I said though, it does weigh slightly more than 120 tons, and that's down to the hoofing, dirty, great big 150mm gun that does things like that to Panther 88s. And all of the armour. Lower glacis 230mm and sloped effectively, more like 270, 280. Upper glacis 240mm and sloped effectively, more like 300. And the turret, just forget it. It's only 200mm of actual thickness, but it's rounded, it's sloped. Ooh, you don't want to be exposing the side of a T55A to this 150mm gun. But yes, the turret, rounded, sloped, and also has a very, very good gun mantlet. A lot like the gun mantlet on the Lerva, which means that shooting at the front of the turret, you're effectively having to deal with about 400mm of armour. Speaking of heavily armoured tanks, he just executed a Type 4 Heavy there who was busy demonstrating how to not play the Type 4 Heavy, another very heavily armoured tank. And yet that guy, on a city map, only managed to block 390 points of damage with his armour. You could go AFK at the start of a map on Ruinberg in a Type 4 Heavy, be the last tank left alive on your team, and have all the surviving enemy tanks queuing up to shoot at you, and still manage to block more than 390 points of damage with your armour. That's not the only achievement our friend in the Type 4 Heavy has managed to earn for himself in this game, but we'll cover that in more detail when we look at the post-battle results. For now, Skillful 2 has over 3,000 damage done, thanks to the Panther 88s that keep shooting at him. He's approaching 3,000 damage blocked. Oh, there it is. 3,000 damage blocked. I don't want to be too critical of Panther 88s and the enemy team, by the way, because they actually ended up doing quite a lot of the heavy lifting for the enemy team during the course of this match. The enemy's Tier 10s, not so much. It was mostly down to the Tier 8s and the Tier 9s. Actually, while we're on the subject of the enemy Panther 88s, just hold on a second and watch this. If you look at the map, you can see that he's no longer spotted, but he was last seen right over there. So he's aiming using the map, and he's picking the most likely bush, takes the shot. Now, he didn't kill anything, but spoiler alert, he did actually hit a Panther 88, still sitting in that bush in his last reported position. So the damage counter that's running in the bottom left corner of the screen is no longer accurate. He's actually done more damage than is being displayed. And he's trying his luck again with the last reported position of the Sheridan. But he's not going to get lucky twice. That one didn't hit anything. He only hit the Sheridan once during the course of this game for 737 damage, and that was a hit he inflicted on him earlier. But you can see the basic tactics that he's using here in the VK7201K. he initially tried to use the good mobility of this tank to get across the open field and into the town over there. And, ooh, ouch, that was nearly 600 damage from the T-92. That's going to leave a mark. But when he got caught in the open, he didn't panic like the Lorraine 40T that was with him that got obliterated. Instead, he just angled the tank, weathered the incoming fire, put some shots down range, scared off the enemy, and then got into the town and repeated the process in there. So that's one way to use this tank. And here's another. Now he's not actually side-scraping around the corner here, but, well, he's not taking any damage either. Unfortunately, there's an IS-3 in a fantastic position on the far end of the field there, as the E-75 comes around the corner and finishes off the IS-4. See, the problem is that all of the armour in this tank is at the front. The side is only 160mm, which isn't bad, but it's as flat as a pancake. And that IS-3 over there, he's in a fantastic hold-down flanking position. So Skillful 2 can't head down this road without getting shot in the flank by the IS-3, and he can't go over to deal with the IS-3 without getting shot in the flank by everybody down the other end of the road. So either somebody's going to have to go over there and deal with the IS-3, and the T-34-2 is going to have a go, or somebody is going to have to get very, very lucky with their shooting. Because just about the only place you're going to be able to do any damage to an IS-3 in that position is by hitting the commander's hatch. You have got to be kidding me. I think he rolled a natural 20 there. Anyway, with the IS-3 no longer a threat to his flank, he's free to advance down the road here, and he's now in shooting distance of the cap circle. The enemy are ahead by 2 kills, and they do have, well, it's only one tank in the cap circle. It's the Batchat 12T down there, but he only has 350 health left, and this is a 150mm gun. So, either he's got more assistance over there than we know about. Oh, hold on a second. One less tank to back him up now. Scores at 8-10. The enemy team still 2 kills ahead. But either that Batchat 12T has more backup over there than we know about, or he's very desperate indeed to hold on to the capture points that he has. Because sitting in the open, like that, stationary, in front of a 150mm gun, that's a paddling. He's now blocked nearly 5,000 damage with his armour, and while the damage counter is saying he's done 6,300 damage, remember the blind shot against the Panther 88 hidden in a bush earlier? He's actually done 7,000 damage. So how do you actually beat one of these things? Well, it's not without its vulnerabilities. It's very strong from the front, admittedly. Not so much from the side and rear. The side armour is 160mm thick, but it's as flat as a pancake, and the rear armour is absolutely terrible, and while it is the most mobile of the German Tier 10 heavies, remember you can... oh, hang on a second. Oh, there was nothing surprising about that dozer butt sex. That guy has actually done quite well in this game. Remember, he was one of the first ones hit, and he did take 770 damage. So he's actually survived this long in a Tier 8 heavy, in a Tier 10 match, until now, without taking any further damage. So he's actually done quite well. But yes, getting back to the BK. Oh, T-69 making a run for the S-Tank, and the Tortoise is around the corner. Well, you don't take it on from the front, it's as simple as that. Because it is very, very strong from the front. But if you can get onto its flank, you will kill it, because it turns slowly, the turret turns even more slowly, and the gun reloads slower than the same gun on the E100. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. What is it about enemy tanks that just like to sit in the open sideways on? Oh dear. Oh, he's too cheap to use a fire extinguisher. I'm sorry, but I just think that's really funny. There's kill number 5. Finished off the Tortoise. Now, it has a slower reload than the same gun on the E100, but is he going to be able to reload in time to get the final kill for the top gun on that T-69? Remember, 0.4 accuracy. Orange Jesus strikes again. And there's the top gun. Wow, what a game. Well, I don't think anybody's going to be too surprised to discover that this was the game where he earned his 330th third mark of mastery. This time in the VK7201K. Also, obviously, ace tanker, top gun, high caliber tank sniper in a gun with .4 accuracy, steel wall and Confederate. Thanks to that blind shot against the Panther 88 hidden in the bush halfway through the game, he did 9,632 damage overall. By keeping the tank angled, fighting around corners, and never advancing anywhere alone if there was the slightest chance that he was going to get outflanked, he managed to block 5,380 points of damage with his armour. That's more than 15,000 combined damage dealt and blocked, and triple the damage done by the next best player on his team, who was a tier 8 by the way, an AMX 5100, so, you know, well done to him. He also made a profit, admittedly with a premium account, despite firing more than a few rounds of premium ammunition. Special mention before we go has to be given to the very unfortunate driver of the Type 4 Heavy on the enemy team, who was demonstrating a flawless example of how not to play the Type 4 Heavy. Not only did he completely fail to use his armour with any degree of competence, blocking only one of the 5 shots fired at him for 390 damage, but he also only managed to do 184 damage before he died, which is pretty impressive when you consider that the smallest gun on that tank does 450 average damage. So today's "oh well, at least you weren't AFK" award goes to the driver of the Type 4 Heavy on the enemy team. Anyway, that was skillful too, or at least I hope it was skillful too, because, well, let's face it, nobody would be surprised if I was mispronouncing his name. Anyway, if I am mispronouncing your name, you know, it's what I do. But your name doesn't exactly come with a pronunciation guide, does it? So, you know, that's my get out of jail free card. Thanks for the replay, very entertaining. He does, of course, have his own Twitch livestream channel, which I have watched, and he is very entertaining. And he does also upload his own videos to YouTube. Links to both down below in the video description. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.